Welcome back to another episode. Oh my God, 2025 has been honestly one of the toughest years. I mean, I think the last 5 to 8 years have been tough, but I don't know about you, but 2025 was challenge after challenge after challenge, especially relationships, like all areas of life, but especially relationships. I had one guy at the start of the year, well, from 2024 to 2025. He was using me for my money, and he wouldn't leave me alone. So I had to kind of like block. I had another guy who had committal issues tell me that I'm the reason why he doesn't want to be with me. And he used some of the things that I said against me. And he's still trying to get up in my grill, and he was the first SP that I talked about back in 2024, which I created a program around, which is an amazing program. You can check it out. It's all about healing the abandonment wound. This is what I found. This is kind of what we're going to touch base today in the episode. He kept coming back into my life. If you want an SP to come back into your life, once you've done the healing work, you realize you don't, because I don't. So I've had to block him too. And then I've had another guy who essentially lied to me the whole time. And that felt like a betrayal. So yeah, all of them were avoidant. All of them were emotionally unavailable. And that's the topic I want to talk about today. And so I've learned so much. Learned so much from them all. And I'm grateful that I've had those experiences now that I can really take what I've gone through and not be so affected by it like I used to be. But it made me really realize and understand just why I kept attracting emotionally unavailable men and avoidant men. So that's the hot topic for today. If you are someone who attracts emotionally unavailable partners, then it is actually a reflection of yourself. And that's something that I want to mainly talk about, because it's very easy to kind of blame the other person. It's very easy to be like, they're not doing this, this, and this, which is true. I'm not trying to take that away from you, or, I'm being realistic about it. But if we don't look at our own stuff, then we are going to continuously be blindsided by the lessons and why we keep ending up in this situation. And for me, it was back in 2024. That's when I began doing this work. And then I started teaching women. I started mentoring women on how they can heal. Because for me, I was an anxious wreck. It used to affect me so much when a guy rejected me, or when a guy couldn't commit to me. It really hurt. Like, I used to have panic attacks. And back in 2024, when I was manifesting an SP, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole of manifesting SPs, I started back in 2020. But this one, I was like, I'm going to manifest him, but in a different way. And the reason why I did this was because I kept feeling so emotionally distraught, and I kept ending up in situations where, like, I couldn't focus on myself. I couldn't focus on my life. I couldn't operate. So 2024, there were two guys that did the exact same thing to me. One was my SP and the other one was an old SP, I guess. And it was the same year. They said the same things to me. They couldn't commit to me. They had issues of their own. I don't know. but they didn't want to, I guess, be in a relationship with me. And I just remember feeling so emotionally distraught. I remember calling my mum because I was having panic attacks. I felt like my world was falling apart. Like I couldn't breathe. I felt sick. I stopped eating. At the time I had no job. I was kind of working in what I'm doing now, but I wasn't even focusing on that. So financially, I had no stability, and I didn't care because I couldn't function. I couldn't focus. I was just crying all the time. And I remember calling up my mum because this wasn't the first time this year that a guy did. This was the second time in the same year that a guy did the exact same thing to me. And that was what made me realize, like, I need to change something within myself. I need to focus on myself somehow, like heal. But I didn't know at the time what it was. And I remember calling mum, crying my eyes out, like hyperventilating, and being like, I can't function, I can't focus, why am I like this? And you know, she was like trying to calm me down. And then I Googled my symptoms, and I realized I had an abandonment wound. And I was like, fun. So I went down that rabbit hole of really exploring the different attachment styles, which is you've got your fearful avoidant, your anxious attachment, your avoidant attachment, and then your secure. And I realized all of these things, like I looked at all of these things that I was experiencing, and I was like, oh my God, I have an abandonment wound, I have a betrayal wound. I realized why I'm so dysfunctional in a relationship. And rather than manifesting my SP, which is what I usually do, I'm like, if I'm going to be with him, or if I really want, because at the time I just wanted to be with him. So it's like, if I want to be with him, I'm going to be with him, then I have to put him aside and at least heal myself, because I know the way that I'm functioning isn't healthy. I'm toxic because I was toxic. I used to say things and do things out of like having zero control, you know what I mean? Like zero control of my body type thing. And I didn't want to be like that, because I know I'm such a lover girl at heart and I have pure intentions. And so I was like, I need to focus on healing myself. And I started doing that. Within 2 weeks of healing my abandonment wound, I stopped waking up crying and having panic attacks and just, you know, having those reminiscing thoughts about him and things like that. Because it's like an addiction. Like, I'm not even kidding you. This is like an addiction. So if you're experiencing this, it's so challenging, and I don't downplay it. Because it's a horrible experience and it's something you developed early on in childhood. So I hear you when you can resonate and you've gone through the same thing. I understand 100%. So with me and healing this wound, I noticed after 2 weeks I was no longer waking up crying and feeling panicky, which was like a key sign that it was working. And then after that, after about a month, I was able to stop focusing on him, which is kind of really good, because before that, my whole life was consumed around him, was all about him. I had no motivation to do anything for myself, couldn't focus on my goals, couldn't function. And a month after, I was so detached from him, and what I was doing was working. That made me realize that I was the dysfunctional person, and that I needed to show up for myself in ways that I was expecting my SP or other people in the past to do that. And as I started showing up for myself, I stopped needing to be chosen and needing them to need me and want me as much. And that was like the pivotal moment of like, wow, I don't feel dependent on someone anymore. Or I don't feel dependent on my SP at the time, which was huge for me, because that was never a thing. Like, I didn't have the love that I needed growing up. I became the biggest people pleaser. in the world just to try to receive love and attention from a guy. Daddy issues, I know. So for me, this was huge. And when I see online, especially with people attracting avoidant men or avoidant partners, it's always the same thing. It always comes back to yourself. And ever since then, from 2024 to now, it's clear as day for me. Like, I don't feel that way anymore. I don't operate from that dysfunctional person anymore. I'm very secure, even though, like, I've listed things that have gone on with my previous SPs or exes in the past or whatever, people I dated last year, 2025, I was pretty secure in the way of dealing with it. I used to be completely dysregulated, but handling those situations with those men in 2025 was completely different. And that's something I'm very proud of. But it always comes down to back to the same thing, and it's you. And we don't like to admit it because we can see how they're not showing up, or how they're creating inconsistent behavior, or how they're making you feel anxious. That's true. If you're an anxious person like me, and someone's not showing up consistently, or you can't predict their behavior. You don't know if they like you or not because it's not obvious. They're playing games, or what they're doing is they're actually triggering your nervous system. And your nervous system is signaling, I don't feel safe with this person because they're clearly inconsistent and they're not showing up to the level in which I need. So that's creating anxiety within yourself. And the problem, and why I say this is really comes down to you, is because from like 9 out of 10 times, you know they're not good for you. Like, you know. And if you don't know your mind, your body knows through the anxiety, but you choose to ignore it because that part of you wants to feel chosen, wants to be loved by them. And that's why what I've recognized now that I'm healed is that I can pinpoint from the beginning if someone is healthy or if someone is emotionally available or not. And it's my job, my responsibility to walk away from them. And that's what I did with this guy that I was seeing at the end of 2025. A couple months in, besides him lying to me, keeping something from me, I kind of started picking up on signs that he was emotionally unavailable, or that he was saying amazing things. He's a great guy. He was saying all the right things, all of the things that I wanted to hear, all of the things that an emotionally available person would say. But then the actions weren't aligning. They weren't matching up. And so slowly I noticed, he's not, he's not showing up in this way, or he's not doing this, or, I've noticed he's shut down. And those are the signs. And the signs are there, and then it's up to us to do with that information what we will. A secure person will feel anxious if they are providing inconsistent behavior, and will choose to walk away, or will ask for what they need. And if they don't receive what they need, then they'll walk away. And that's what I did with this guy. I noticed the behavior. I said, look, I'll express my needs and I'll see if he can give it to me. And if not, then that's fine. But, it's time to walk away. The walking away part for me is still something I'm learning, because it's like there's still a part of me that holds on for a little bit too long, just because, I don't know, I just hold on for a little bit too long. I think because I see the best in them, and I want to see if they could. I don't know. It's something I'm still learning. But when it comes to avoidant partners, there's only you can see that. You can recognize that within yourself, and then you can choose, am I going to stay here or am I going to leave? And the choice is always to leave, because you can't fix them. And most of us want to fix them. We want to help them, especially if we are empaths and highly sensitive souls. We see the best in them and we want to fix them, we want to help them, but you are not their mother and you can't. And the hardest part is walking away, because it activates that abandonment feeling of, oh my God, like something's wrong with me, or I'm not good enough. You know, whatever that shame, whatever that feeling is deep within, that's something that you have to work through. And it's tough sometimes. All the time, it's tough. And it's just something that I think you're having to willingly participate in. But the biggest problem for an anxious person when attracting an avoidant is they are kind of addicted to the behavior, the inconsistent behavior, because it's familiar to their nervous system. So when you're an anxious person and you were taught early on that love gets taken away, or love is inconsistent, or you have to earn love has to be earned, or you have to do X, Y, Z, you have to be a good girl, you have to be quiet. If you want to be loved, you know, if you want attention, you've got to do things the right way. And so love becomes conditional. And when you constantly experience that growing up, relationships feel like a game. Like that's how it felt like for me. It was like a game. Like I knew when I was healing that I was attracted to men that I couldn't predict, men that would trigger my nervous system, because then it would have me questioning. And not that I liked this, not that it was healthy, but it was just so familiar. Like for me, if I were to attract someone who was consistent and had pure intentions, it would feel boring. I'd feel bored. And I'd be like, no, not interested, because I was used to and addicted to the intensity of it. And I think this is where we get confused with anxious. When we're anxious, we kind of jump into it really quickly. We move way too quickly because we crave that intensity, and almost like we're addicted to the highs and then the lows. This is what I was addicted to, the highs and then the lows. And it's not that we like it, but it's just so familiar to our nervous system. So when someone shows up and they're giving you this attention, and even if it's like love bombing at the beginning, it's high intensity and it's reassurance that you crave at the beginning, and then they kind of drop off, or something happens and then you're doubting or you're questioning if they like me, and then it's just this game that's so familiar. And rather than being a secure person, rather than going, well, they're not very healthy, they've got their, they don't seem to know what they want, or they seem to be inconsistent, I'm going to just pull myself away from this, and I'm going to go find someone who, will be consistent and who I deserve. You kind of latch onto that game, and you want almost like the chase, the thrill, because a part of you, your whole life has been craving to be chosen. It's like you want them to choose you. And the first thing that comes to my mind is like, those movies where those movies where like they're a bad guy and she's like a good girl, and the bad guy never goes for the good girl, and the bad guy doesn't like the good girl at the beginning, but then he changes for her. And deep down, that's all our inner child wants and needs and craves, is we want them to choose us. We want them to change for us. But what's actually needed is for you to choose yourself and your inner child. So your inner child is that young aspect of you, that little girl, little boy that lives within you, that is craving to be chosen and prioritized by you, not by them, by you. And for me, when I was actively learning to heal, what I was noticing every single time I was abandoning myself to feel chosen or to feel love from them. And so I had to consciously make the choice in every moment that I was used to abandoning myself to choose myself, to choose to show up for my inner child. So wherever I was like, I need love, I need attention from them, or I don't feel chosen and I feel sad, that was an opportunity for me to show up for myself. And this is what I teach with my clients. And this is how, like, I go through with them the process of what it's like to show up for your inner child, because it's your inner child, this little girl, little boy, just screaming out for you to love them. It's this part of you that never received unconditional love, that never received the love and attention and the validation and the connection that they needed. And when you learn to show up and give that to yourself, you stop begging, because it's almost like you're begging it from other people because you are so deprived of it, if that makes sense. And this is kind of what my experience has been over the last couple of years of just really showing up for my inner child. When you start showing up for yourself, whoa, your standards are so high, and it's so cool. I love it because you don't have time. You no longer tolerate time wasters. You no longer tolerate people who are emotionally unavailable. Like, you can clock that. I know when someone's emotionally unavailable. I know when someone isn't able to give me what I want. But before, I was so delusional. I was using manifestation to try to get them to change so that I felt chosen, when the whole time I just needed to choose myself. And by choosing myself was showing up and healing my inner child, healing that little girl that doesn't feel loved, that doesn't feel seen, that doesn't feel like she's enough, and really showing up and healing and providing for her what she never got. And I always looked at my inner child as if like I had a little girl, because if I had a little daughter, my gosh, I would protect her with everything. Like, I would show up for her and give her what she needed, because I know my inner child never got that. And so I always imagine that whenever I'm feeling triggered or unloved, I know that's an opportunity for me to show up for myself, for that little girl, just like I would show up for my daughter. And that's really what it is, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're abandoning yourself for someone else. You're abandoning yourself in hopes that someone else will love and choose you. And you know that that never happens, because every time you abandon yourself for someone else to love you, that is a mirror reflection, right? The universe will only give you what you believe you're deserving and worthy of. So you attracting emotionally unavailable men or women just goes to show that you're actually emotionally unavailable yourself. Does that make sense? And I'll share with you, okay, this is how it makes sense for me. So I have been in an experience with another person, like a guy, where he was very anxious and he would do anything for me. It was actually the last guy I was kind of seeing. So I started noticing that behavior as well. He was kind of like, he would do anything for me in the way of like, I could treat him like garbage, which I didn't, but you know what I mean? Like, I know I could, and he would still stay because he was just attached. And and I noticed that. And then when I think of that, I'm like, oh my God, I used to be that person. And it's actually really off-putting. Like, I was like, you need to have some respect for yourself. Like, you need to learn to love yourself. And so I just think of how the roles are reversed, and how, like, if imagining how I used to be like, where I used to allow any type of behavior and I would stay, and how unattractive that would be, especially energetically. If you let someone just walk all over you. You give all your energy away to them and you let them do whatever you want, ever they want. Like, they're going to do whatever they want because they know they can get away with it. And being on the receiver end of that, I was just like, this is yucky. Like have some self-respect. And I say that with love because now I've learned to respect myself and have high standards. And I think men are more attracted, even women, partners, other people are more attracted to people that have high standards because they know what they want and they aren't afraid to go after it, and they're not afraid to set boundaries. So if you are an anxious person, or if you are someone who attracts avoidant partners and you keep ending up in the same situation over and over again, I want to invite you to shift your perspective, take the focus off them, and really just go within and ask yourself, why am I in this position? Why am I allowing someone like this person who isn't giving me what I need and deserve? Why am I allowing them into my life? Why am I keeping them in? And in what ways can I start showing up for myself? And just opening that door is allowing yourself to really start connecting with your inner child and really showing up for her, which is no longer abandoning yourself. And that's the key to healing your abandonment wound, your betrayal wound, whatever. The key to healing in your relationships is to no longer abandon the self. And sometimes, or not sometimes, I think a lot of people, like myself, don't even have didn't even have a relationship with their inner child. I never had a relationship with my inner child. I didn't know what I needed because I didn't care. I just wanted them to choose me. I just wanted to be with them. So when I started asking myself, what do I need? And why am I choosing to accept this behavior when clearly he's like ghosting me for days, or he's being rude to me and I'm accepting that? And just asking my inner child what she needs and just showing up for her in every moment that she needs me as much as I can. And at the beginning, like, it was it was hard, number one, and number two, I because it's unconscious, I would catch myself, but I'd miss those moments as well. So it's okay. But I think what it's really about is it's really learning to connect to the little girl that lives within you, or the little boy that lives within you. And rather than making the choice, because once you're aware that you're abandoning yourself, you're choosing to do what's familiar. But when you choose to look within and do something different, which is choosing to show up for your inner child, that is the moment of change. And it could be, you could still feel so triggered and so anxious, nothing has changed in that way, but it is still a win because you aren't choosing the familiar thing that you're used to doing. And you're going to fall down and you're going to get back up. Like, there were days where I was so crap at showing up for myself because I didn't want to. And so I just kind of forgave myself, and then I picked myself back up and we did it again. The whole purpose of healing your inner child, healing your abandonment wound, your abandonment issues, is to learn to stop abandoning yourself, because that is the familiar thing. Once you start showing up for your inner child and you start regulating your nervous system, you're rewiring your nervous system to feel safe choosing you, which is really unfamiliar at the beginning. Once you start doing that, then you stop abandoning yourself and you stop allowing this behavior to go on because you stop tolerating it because it's no longer safe for you. See, that's the thing. We accept this behavior because it's familiar and it's safe for us. We don't want to change because it doesn't feel safe. There's uncertainty. It's unfamiliar. It's uncomfortable. So when I was healing my abandonment wound, I struggled so much because I just didn't want to do it. It was like I just wanted to feel all my emotions and live in self-pity, just drown in my sorrows. I really just wanted to do that. But I kept telling myself every day, I can't, if I want to be in a healthy relationship, I have to change. And I kept telling myself every day, if I want to be in a healthy relationship, I have to change. I have to change. So that was my motivation every day to, rather than just unconsciously, because it's so habitual to just, spiral in my thoughts and think, what is he doing? He doesn't like me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nope, not happening. I'm going to look within and I'm going to regulate my nervous system and I'm going to show up for my inner child because I'm breaking this cycle. I'm breaking it. I'm not going to fucking do this anymore. That's literally my behavior. Some days I was good at it. Some days I wasn't. Some days I put so much pressure on myself. I'm like, I wish I was already healed. Now I don't do that. Because there's no version of you that's healed, right? You will always have days where you will feel triggered because you're human. So the goal isn't to never be triggered or never be anxious again. Throw that out. Put that in the bin because that is a total fucking lie. You're human. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel negative emotions. All of those emotions are going to arise. That's not the point. The point is just getting really good at showing up for your inner child. And if she's fucking sad, if she's crying, she's like, oh my God, I want him. Feel those emotions. So hopefully this helps. And thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next time.